See Mr. Martinez.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Here.
And Mr. Campbell Gooch is currently absent and may be joining us soon. And Ashley Davis here as chair. So we have 3 of the 4 members of the executive committee meeting. We are first, before I move and give the floor to Mr. Pinkley, I just want to pause and read our appeal statement. So pursuant to the provisions of section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County Community Oversight Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of cert. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entitled considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. With that, before we move to the approval of the minutes, Mr. Pinkley, if you would please join us here, we welcome you.
Thank you. So I just need to real quick go through the legal reasons. It'll be essentially the exact same thing that we did for the policy meeting on Tuesday. Because of the COVID-19 outbreak and Governor Lee's declaration of a state of emergency on March 12th, and then the Safer at Home order implemented by Mayor Cooper, there's a shutdown for public meetings. March 20th, Governor Lee implemented Executive Order 16, which suspended some of the in-person quorum requirements for the Open Meetings Act and allows boards to meet electronically without physical quorum. So at this time, the board needs to vote on the record that the coronavirus pandemic requires it to hold a telephonic meeting as permitted under Executive Order 16. So all we need is a motion, second, and a roll call vote.
Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. 1 second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Any focused discussion? All those in favor, we'll go in order here. Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And as chair, I also vote aye. Motion 3-0, it passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Pinkley, and thank you, board members here. I'm going to pause here just really quickly to say, Ms. Judd, it appears that Mr. Kamaguchi is also having issues. So I'm sending, I don't know if you have his email address, but I'm happy to send you and clarify his email address for you too.
Okay, yeah, if you could send it to me through email, that would be good.
Sure, I sure will. I will. I'll send that right now. And we have, and thank you, Mr. Sweeney, have the minutes from our last executive committee meeting. I believe it was just with one small revision that we needed to make there. So with that, is there a motion here? Any discussion we need to have before the motion related to the approval of the last minute?
I move to approve the minutes from the February 21st meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone second?
Second, and that's the minutes as revised.
As revised, yes, sir. Yep, absolutely. With that, any focused discussion? Those in favor, Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Chair Davis is aye as well. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the Executive Committee elections procedures. Mr. Pinkley, before you begin there, before we start, I just want to pause for just a moment here. One, because I think this is important that Mr. Campbell Gooch be present with us here, and it's of no fault of his own here that he's not able to join us. So just give me one moment, because I know that he will be able to once we get in this space here. Also want to just confirm if someone, I know Director Fitchard is not on the line, but we do have Mr. Cossie here as well as, of course, Mr. Pinkley. But has a calendar invite been sent out to members of the board for Wednesday's general body meeting?
I'm here. Yes. Stephanie can talk on that because she sent them out, but I have received mine.
Okay. And when we say you, because I just want to be clear, what I received too, I got the messenger from WebEx. Is that what we're talking about, or is there, because there's that also includes the calendar invite. Am I right about that?
That is correct. It'll be a email from messenger@webex.com, and it includes a calendar invite.
Gotcha. Okay. So, if we could, Director Fisher, ahead of Wednesday, just send in a short email to the board to just ask them all to confirm, like look in their email or other, boxes to make sure they have that information ahead of Wednesday. That would be great. And I'm assuming to both of you here, Ms. Judd, Director Fisher, there's no way for them, other than what we did earlier this week, to test that they can get into the system?
Correct. I normally open this about an hour before if there's new invitees, so they can try and connect prior to. Okay. All right. So, but like today, for instance, when there's not a matching of the email address, that's something that the earliest we could check on that is an hour before. That's what we're saying. So 2:00 on Wednesday. Correct. I can, if you like, you can resend me the emails and I'll double check them all for the Wednesday meeting and just verify that they are correct. But beyond that, it would be that hour check prior to, just to make sure you can connect.
I'll also send out a email to each board member to ask them if they received it. I'll check on that because the invitations have already went out. So if they don't have it for the 22nd, if they don't have it now, then they can let me know so that we can go ahead and resend it.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I just want to, anything we can do to triple check will be wonderful.
Right.
Mr. Martinez.
Yes, I have not received any WebEx invites. That's why I didn't have the link for today, and I haven't received any for Wednesday either.
I'm correcting as soon as this meeting's over. I'm going to correct your email address, Mr. Martinez. There was a mix-up on the information beyond the @ part of it, so you should receive it this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks, Director Fisher. Again, that triple check, I think, will be helpful and allow us to have a smoother start and process on Wednesday as well. I'm going to welcome Mr. Campbell-Gooch. Welcome here. Feel free to come off mute here or to stay on it, because now we're going to move to what's this agenda item number 5, where Mr. Pinkley will walk us through the procedure for next week's executive committee elections and for the executive committee's awareness. And we will do the same information share out prior to activating it on Wednesday as well. So Mr. Pinkley, you have the floor.
Thank you. So the elections next week will follow a very different format than they did back in, I think it was October. So what will happen is at the outset, I will announce the 4 candidates that the nominating committee has recommended for the different positions. And we will take each position one by one. So we will start with the chair position and we will open the floor up to any additional nominations. So any member of the board is free to nominate any person that they feel is fit to run for chair. So at that time, we will leave the floor open until the nominations are done. So there's no limit on the amount of people that can nominate. People can self-nominate if they would like. And then once nominations are finished, we will close the floor to nominations, and we will have a period for discussion if people want to discuss the different nominees. And then we will hold a roll call vote. Everyone will state the name of the person they feel is fit for chair, and we'll go down the line. At that point, whoever has the most votes will become the new chair, starting with the May meeting. At that point, we'll move right into the vice chair. It'll follow the exact same format. We'll announce. I'll remind the board of who the nominating committee's suggestion was, And then we will open the floor up, and any other board can self-nominate, nominate anyone that they feel is fit for that role, and we'll continue to move through. Each position will follow that same format. That way, if someone is nominated for chair and is not elected, they are able to run for other positions, as opposed to last time it was kind of all messed up. And the votes may have been split for certain people, may have been listed as chair, vice chair, second vice chair, and people may have felt that they were more appropriate for one position or the other and split the vote, and they didn't end up on the executive committee at all. So the way we're doing it now, it should allow for a fair vote for each individual position. And then at the end of it, that group will be the new executive committee, starting with the May meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkley. Mr. Martinez.
Oh, sorry, I hadn't unraised my hand.
No worries, it's okay. Any members of the executive committee have any questions, comments there? I see Mr. Campbell Gooch.
Yes, let me first say thank you, everybody, for being patient, and excuse my tardiness. I hate being late, especially digitally and online, but my apologies. I am curious about what other executive team members think about changing in this moment. Like, I am concerned with actually moving forward with any changes when we're in this moment of just needing stability all the way around. So I'm just curious on how people feel about postponing this change, or if like people are uncomfortable. I'm just curious about where people are with that, because I'm just concerned about that right now.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell Gooch. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, somewhat of a similar concern. Since previously when we voted, there were issues about the process and there was concern about how we were doing it. And now we're going to do it in a different way, but not the way that we discussed at our last board meeting. And there's not going to be a secret ballot. So I was wondering whether it might be a good idea to propose alternatives to the board before they vote. That one of those alternatives be a postponement of the vote until we can meet again in person and use our secret ballot provisions. Under the bylaws, the officers currently in place can stay in place until their successors have been elected. So that would be permitted under the bylaws. And so I'm concerned about changing the process for voting under the circumstances, or at least doing so without giving an alternative to the board.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Campbell Gooch, I see your hand still raised, but I think I see Mr. Pinkley. Let me go to him and then we can come back to the board here. Mr. Pinkley?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of address Mr. Sweeney's point. I went back and forth with some members of Metro Legal on the idea of a quote unquote secret ballot. Metro Legal, or at least this attorney's opinion, was that a secret ballot or an anonymous ballot wouldn't necessarily comply with the Open Records Act. I don't know that that would be my interpretation of it, so I would need to do some more research on that fact. But with the Open Records Act being as broad as it is, we may have to do, even when we meet in person, we may have to hold an open vote.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkley. So, by the way, Mr. Martinez, did you have your hand up? I'm kind of switching up and down the screen here. So,
I didn't.
Okay. I think, thank you, Mr. Campbell Gooch, Mr. Sweeney here. Certainly, it's an opportunity for the board to consider. There has been a lot of development since we were last able to come together, but I would want the larger board to have the opportunity, just as you all are saying here, to weigh in and have that decision. I guess the best option here, you all tell me,
to make sure we can keep this in mind, Mr. Pinkley, if we can just prepare and move forward as if things will happen as you've been planning on Wednesday, but prior to the vote or announcement of those that have been nominated by the nomination committee, perhaps if a member of the executive committee wants to share this option, we can discuss it then. Does that sound fair, or does anyone have a better idea here about how we might be able to do this in full transparency here for the board to make a decision?
I do have one question that's kind of related to that. And it's for Mr. Pinkley. Does Robert's rules say whether it's a secret vote or not?
So based on my research for Robert's rules, they generally, I don't know the right word, frown on what they consider non-democratic or undemocratic processes. To me, an open vote is not a democratic process. So we're kind of balancing between the non-democratic process of an open vote and the Open Records Act being written the way that it's written. So that's kind of the balance that we're trying to strike.
Does the Open Records Act have anything to do with anything other than records? Meaning that if we voted secretly, but the votes were tabulated, that then there's a record if somebody wanted to see it, but otherwise there's been a confidential vote.
So that is my interpretation of the Open Records Act. That is not the same interpretation that I got from a member of Metro Legal. So what I had planned on doing was hopefully trying to reach out to Mr. Cooper, the director of Metro Legal, to get an official, this is Metro's position on how elections should be handled. That way I could advise the board moving forward, since there seems to be differing opinions between attorneys for Metro.
So, Mr. Pinkley, you think you could get connect with your colleagues there on that topic prior to Wednesday's meeting, gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure I can try. If I can't get in touch with Mr. Cooper today, I will keep trying him. Hopefully, I can get in touch with him prior to the meeting on Wednesday.
Okay. Mr. Campbell-Gooch, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Sweeney, anything else you want to share here on this topic? And we'll move forward with the plan to, one, have an awareness just of the additional information from Metro Legal, but to also bring this before the larger board for discussion. Is that an okay plan for everyone?
Yes.
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 Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pinkley. By the way, I know this is, you've been working quite a bit on this, so thank you very much. Also want to note, this is a small but important note as a person who usually has to read this. I appreciate the appeals statement being on the agenda. Thank you. It's really wonderful. I appreciate it. So I want to move to agenda item 6, the COB required training. This is something I've been speaking with Director Fitchett about. So Director Fitchett, if you wouldn't mind just teeing this up for the executive committee, and then I'll happily add a little bit of color on the back end here.
Sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about training. I had talked to Chair Davis about it. I think that we have 3 new board members that need to go through training. And then, of course, we have Mr. Clausey, who's on the line, who also will have to go through training. As I read the charter, it mentioned that the CPA was something that they suggested that all board members, and now they've changed the language slightly in the MOU, that all board members and employees of the COB would attend the CPA training. But it also mentions that, or some type of equivalent training. And so as we begin to talk about what is equivalent, and for me, I was thinking about all the things that we're learning, the things that would be helpful for the board to understand how this process works, what kind of trainings that they would like. We want to put together some type of comprehensive training so that board members can get training in regards to what is what type of cases that we're working, which are administrative cases. What are the rules? Also to have some understanding of the laws that would be helpful for the board to know as it pertains to guarantee rights and things of that nature. So I did some research, and NACO offers some core competencies for civilian oversight practitioners. And so the MNCO team has begun to work towards becoming credentialed in this to become credentialed civilian oversight practitioners. And so they had 6 core competencies that I thought would be really helpful for our board to also know, which is a background in for civilian oversight law enforcement, investigations, the public and transparency, the law, policing and law enforcement policies and procedures, and then remediation and discipline. Those were the core competencies. And I thought that those were great for us. And so myself and the team, we are going to start moving forward and trying to put some trainings together so that the board can be trained. And I talked to Mr. Pinkley about how would we be able to go about doing a training, since the board usually can't meet, and he might want to jump in and talk about this shortly. But I think that it mentions in the bylaws that we could have some extra trainings, as well as a time where the board can come together for a retreat. That would be a time where we could do some training as well. And I wanted to let Mr. Clausey talk about the training that, some trainings that Mr. Pinkley and he had worked on, and Mr. Pinkley presented to the team, and it was fantastic. If you want to mention that, Chris, you can.
Sure, thanks. And hello, everybody. It's my first time saying hello to everybody. So thank you for hearing from me for just a minute. But I wanted to just tell you real quickly what we covered with our team of investigators, and we opened it up for everybody on staff to hear as well. But Todd had put together some training he and I worked on as far as really understanding the difference between a criminal investigation, which we are not doing, and an administrative investigation, which we are doing. And in that investigative training that he put together, and he did a great job as well. He gathered some great information, but he also presented it really well to us. It just helped to really understand why we do the things that we do in an administrative investigation, and to change the focus of how those investigations are handled, as opposed to the criminal side, which is, 2 of the investigators we have a background in criminal investigations and not much so on administrative investigations. So it was really helpful. We're going to look for more ways to do that type of training internally, and then, as Jill had said, for the board as well. And I think that'll be really helpful for us, and hopefully helpful for our board as well. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay, hold on. Thank you. All right, Todd, did you have anything to say about it?
So I think one of the things you had kind of mentioned was that there'd be an issue of everyone meeting. So based on the Open Meetings Act written the way it is, since this would strictly be a training scenario, it would not be board business. There wouldn't be any votes on board business. So there would be no issue of providing information or training to the board members with all of them present together.
Okay, perfect. That's all I have on that, Ashley, if you want to go ahead and talk about it.
Director Fincher, let me, maybe I missed this. I was taking a few notes here as you were sharing, all 3 of you were sharing, but did we speak on the importance of developing this training from within so that we don't have conflicts and people being able to participate in running against any issues with requirements that might be external to what we would require?
Right. So this would be an internal training. And what we would try, I think one of the things that we have to figure out, and we'll either get with Todd and I don't know, maybe some other members on the board to discuss what would be an equivalent training to CPA, and what does equivalent mean, right? So the Citizens Police Academy is a training, it's an overview of the police department, and I think it's helpful. I think that it gives us an overview of what Metro police officers, what the different departments are there, and it's useful. But I also think that it's not as comprehensive as I would like for the board to have. information on. And so that is one of the reasons why we're trying to put this together.
Right. And then thank you, Dr. Fisher. It's important. I think it would be important on a lot of levels, and I think the best approach to exactly what you're illustrating here is for members of MNCEO, a few members of the board that have completed the training in full. And then also, naturally, look, we wouldn't look to do any of this in a vacuum. I think we have partners and want to continue to have a collaborative spirit with MNPD. And so, I would encourage us to also think about ways that we can ensure we get their insight on what, if there's things they feel like we could add to or want to consider. But for a lot of reasons, I think this should be something that the COB considers for future deployment. So, and I appreciate Mr. Clause's contribution already and early on. And I have to pause and just say, Mr. Clause, if we had been together in the room, I would have done this at the onset, but welcome. We welcome you, and we'll welcome you properly in person when we can, but we're so very happy to have you here joining the staff. Now, is this month 2 or month 1 still?
It was month 1 on the 16th.
Gotcha. Oh, so you are 31 days in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what a welcome. So no streamers for you, and we will not be hugging you anytime soon, but we're happy to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
That's great. Let me open the floor to members of the executive committee, Mr. Campbell-Gooch, Martinez, and Mr. Sweeney. Any questions or thoughts and impressions you have on developing the required training from within?
Jamel here. Like, I love the idea, Chair, that you just mentioned about making sure that we keeping the space as collaborative as possible. And I love the motivation to making sure that we have developing a training from within inside. Has there been any conversation, and this is for anybody with the staff, has there been any conversation about like capitalizing on our community members and our community groups as well?
Good point.
By incorporating them in the training?
Mm-hmm.
No, not yet, but that is part of, as we sit down and try to develop it, to see who has those types of, like, for instance, when we talk about informed trauma, I think it would be good to have someone from the community to come in and teach that. So we haven't picked the topics yet. The only topics that I was looking at from within that we have most of that experience within so far as it pertains to investigations and the law. And so we haven't went through it, but those were the core competencies that the civilian, the NACO had said that we needed to have, right? So we were just looking at those initially. But yes, I'm definitely open to have community members participate in this training, as well as the board members who have specialized trainings to teach us, and that would be part of our curriculum.
That's amazing. Like, I want to say, like, I'm really excited about that, like, all together. And then I also think, like, the MNCO staff could also be a great, like, convening of community members and MNPD and kind of bridge that, at least that communication gap and that relationship building question. So I love the whole concept.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell-Gooch. Mr. Sweeney?
Sorry, it took me a minute to find my mic. I'd also be interested in knowing about certain subjects that we might not be able to offer ourselves, such as some of the hands-on exercises or experiences that CPA offered or tried to offer to us in their training, like the STOP exercises. Whether there are other places where they're available to provide us with that kind of training, if we can't otherwise make our accommodations with the Metro Police Department. For example, does the TBI offer anything like that, or would they be wanting to offer anything like that to us? Or, does the FBI, or because of Mr. Clause's former position, would Franklin be willing to do that? So just to know that if there are other alternatives for certain things we may not be able to offer ourselves through lack of equipment or otherwise.
Thank you for that point. I was gonna talk to Mr. Clausey about even checking with Post to see if they had some classes offered that we could attend, as well as our investigators have already signed up for this TBI Academy. That class is very small, and they only take in, I want to say 10 people. And so we have made some contacts with the TBI, and so we have 2 people can go because they only had a few slots, and they couldn't give us as many slots as we requested. But we are 2 of our investigators will be in that class in, I think it's either in August or September. Can you tell me where Enrique? Can you tell me when it is? He's online, but anyway, I'm sorry.
Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, I believe they schedule it for September or October. We thought at first it was going to be in May, but it's actually September, October.
Okay, thank you. So that's a good thing. And so, but we are going to try to reach out to different departments, but hopefully MNPD would be willing to, help us with certain classes. I thought the de-escalation class was really great. And they had a few classes that I thought would be really good for the board and the MNCO staff to have some insight in. Thank you for those points, Mr. Sweeney.
Have you had any further discussions with MNPD about the fact that each year those who participate have to attend all the other courses and there's no alternatives for catching up?
No, but I was told by a few other people who had attended a different CPA class if they were able to make that up. And I just haven't reached out back to Chief Anderson simply because of this other stuff that's been going on in the city, but I can follow up and check on that. Thanks. I'm making myself a note about that.
Dr. Fisher, let me, just while we're on this topic here, and I think to what you just shared and what Mr. Sweeney just shared too, perhaps there's a need to, and I don't remember all the classes by memory, but it would be great to know from the board members that have gone through the classes, maybe perhaps which of the top 3, one that, they feel would be, best administered, or they found the most value connected back to their role and purpose on the COB, and then from that's where we might want to collaborate and, with MNPD or get their thoughts or beyond that. I just want to make sure we get the thoughts of the board on that too, even people who aren't who don't end up on that committee.
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney, is your hand raised there?
Sorry, I forgot to take it down.
That's okay, not a problem. Anything else here on the required training? Any other members of the board, executive committee rather? Okay, not new business. Any new business or announcements?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set of emergency rules that Todd put together.
Mr. Pinkley?
For meetings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That I think should be brought before the board at the board meeting. And so maybe if Todd wants to go over those briefly.
Mr. Pinkley, do you have
Sure.
that ready to share?
Yes, ma'am. So, Chair Davis, I think we talked about this during a conference call a few weeks ago. All my time's starting to run together now. But what the situation was, because of how this coronavirus shutdown happened so quickly, there wasn't an opportunity for the board to get together to hold a vote to cancel the March meeting. So since there's no authority in the bylaws for anyone to make an executive decision to cancel the meeting, Mr. Sweeney and I got together to draft up some language to add to the bylaws that would govern extenuating circumstances that may warrant canceling a meeting, such as the situation we're in now, perhaps inclement weather, a fire, something that is unforeseen that would lead to a meeting needing to be canceled or postponed. So what we need to do at this next meeting is present the amendments to the bylaws and have those voted into place. And then once those are voted into place, we'll just have to retroactively verify that the March meeting was canceled under the new bylaw addition.
Gotcha. How lengthy is this new addition?
I don't think it's overly lengthy. I think it's maybe 2 sections.
Okay, so this is something that can be sent to the board, give them some time to review it?
Yes, I can have that sent out probably before 2 o'clock.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney, anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Sure, with the executive committee. Thanks to both of you for your work there. We did, and I'll just say as chair, I had to move rather quickly just to think about where we were and what's the safety of not just the board, but also the community members. In fact, that's what I emailed Director Fitchard. And so, but I do appreciate just the support here so that the executive committee and the board as a whole understands the construct of how we make decisions here moving forward. It's really helpful. Any additional new business or announcements?
I have one question, just to have it clear in the minutes. Is this meeting right now being publicly broadcast, or are we under the executive order provision that the hearing that's being recorded will be posted within 48 hours? I guess that's to Todd or Jill.
Or Ms. Judd, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The meeting is being broadcast right now with Metro Nashville Network, and then it also will be posted in about 48 hours.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell-Gooch?
I'm sorry.
No, Director Fitchard, did you have something to say on that?
Yeah, Todd, I wanted to have Todd talk about the fact that all of our meetings, since they're teleconference, will be broadcast. Is that correct, Todd? I want to make certain that I'm making that clear in regards to the executive order in regards to meetings. Wasn't it stated that all meetings will be recorded?
I'm sorry. All the meetings have to be recorded, but they don't necessarily have to be live streamed. In this instance, is easier. We got in with Metro Network and they were able to record and broadcast. So if a lot more meetings are being scheduled on different days and we're not able to, we can just record and then live stream and have that posted later. But for this meeting, we were able to get Metro Network to just live stream the meeting while we were doing it.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell-Gooch?
My question was very similar, but I just wanted to say, I just want to express, like, I really do appreciate being able to participate in this. Like, it's been a long couple of months for me, especially people on the ground, the tornado. It just kind of like shook up my entire life and reality. So I just want to say, like, I really do, and I'm saying this every chance I get to anyone I talk to. Like, I really do appreciate being in this moment and sharing this opportunity with everybody on this call.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell-Gooch. I appreciate and share your sentiments here. Absolutely, I do. It's made us all slow down. It's been a heck of a new decade, to say the least. I just want to make sure I give the floor to every member of the executive committee, just in case you have any new business or announcements. Mr. Martinez, anything from you?
Nothing to add.
Okay. And I will just share really quickly here. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to share, to see, and hopefully to share out also the communication that we got yesterday with the first policy review report coming out, being not only just approved by the board earlier this week, but also communicated to the community as well. And if there are any questions or thoughts there, we can certainly come to them on Wednesday when we come back together. But I do just want to emphasize here, both for the board here and talking here for awareness here, pursuant to our bylaws, right? When we want to make sure that we continue to be consistent here. And so
just want everyone to be aware. I've had, someone reach out to me, just confirm that it isn't in fact the case that the only two people from the board that will go on record, whether that's in video or public or on print, is that of the executive director and the chair. And so any, deviation from that will be something that is taken up and put before the board so that we can make a decision. But actually we've connected there to just make sure that all of our communication lines are open and clear. But I just want to applaud again the MNCO staff and specifically Liz for leading us through this, for Mr. Martinez for raising this for awareness. But I think it just shows what we're capable of as a body. I know we have other things on the way and on the horizon coming towards us as well, but it says something that this staff, this wonderful staff, is able to keep moving forward in the midst of a lot of uncertainty, which we're all in the midst of right now. So just wanted to say that and also thank everyone as well. Mr. Kamaguchi, is your hand raised too before we take an adjournment here? No? Okay, I see you put it down. Well, with that, then it's only thing that I have here, we'll get everyone's email address confirmed ahead of Wednesday to make sure we're on site. If I can't get on earlier, I will, just to make sure that on my end, everything is clean and clear as well. Ms. Judd, thank you for your assistance too, both earlier this week and today. We appreciate you walking us through this and being there to answer our questions. And if there's nothing else, we'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one technical question?
Sure, Mr. Sweeney.
Ms. Judd, I noticed that this time when we did this, I don't see a camera option for the WebEx. Is that true for this type of meeting? And because it might be better, might be helpful for all the members of the board to be able to see each other too.
At this time for board and commission meetings, we're not doing the video or not having the video play through just because Cisco as a whole and a lot of internet service providers are ramping up with a lot of remote work going on right now. And by removing the video capability, it helps to reduce the amount of bandwidth a meeting is required so that there's a higher probability of it being successful versus having some technical difficulties.
Okay.
Sure.
I have one. Sorry.
Yeah, Dark. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I have to learn how to use my raise hand feature. I was just going to, before we close, I wanted to remind everyone that our meeting for next week is on April the 22nd, and it is scheduled from 3 to 5. We have now created a dedicated public comment line for the public to be able to call in and leave their messages, and then we will either read them or play them back at the regular board meeting that's scheduled on the 22nd. And that telephone number is 629-255-1906.
Could you say it one more time, Dr. Fisher?
Area code, excuse me, hold on one second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. It's area code 629-255-1906.
1906. Okay, great. And that's posted on the website. I think I've seen something about that already. Is that on the website?
Yes, it's posted on the website. There's a prompt. It will walk them through on how to leave their message. And then once they leave their message, then we are notified and Brinzy will collect all of the comments.
Okay, wonderful.
Can we put that telephone number access on the agenda too?
Sure. Yes.
That's a great idea. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. If there are no additional announcements or new business, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone second?
Second.
Thank you very much. We'll do a roll call vote here. All those in favor, nay, abstention, Mr. Campbell-Gooch.
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair Davis will vote aye as well. Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned at 1:50 p.m. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.